Hi, my name is Ryan O'Connor, and I chose to do Lockheed Martin for my end of the year business plan. I chose to do Lockheed Martin because they're a very interesting company, and I was curious to see how they made their business and financial decisions. I also chose Lockheed Martin because I plan on working for them next year, and I wanted to see how the company operates. I want to start off with a little bit of history about Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin was formed in March 1995 when Lockheed Corporation merged with Martin Marietta Corporation. The origins of Martin Marietta extend back to 1909 with the creation of an airplane construction business that became a major supplier of the United States military. Lockheed Corporation started in 1913 as a small airplane company and officially formed in 1932. By the early 1930s, both companies constructed aircraft for the U.S. military. As the decades went on, both supplied for commercial airline industry, NASA, and radar and missile systems. After 1995, Lockheed Martin strategically acquired companies to expand its core business units. Expansion in quality engineering led Lockheed Martin to become the largest contracting agency with the United States government over the past decade. The executive summary for my business plan is Lockheed Martin is engaged in the production of aircraft, spacecraft, integrated technology systems, and electronic systems. Their products include the F-16 and the F-22, and its most recent addition, the F-35. Its premier space program is the Orion and is scheduled for human space transportation in 2016. Lockheed sells most of its products to the U.S. government, but also deals with foreign allies and private companies. In 2014, Lockheed had net salary sales of $45.6 billion and had net earnings of $904 million. Currently, reductions in the defense spending budget pose a threat to the long-term performance of Lockheed Martin. The vision statement from the Lockheed Martin website states, "We never forget who we are working for." And then another vision statement says, "Powered by innovation, guided by integrity, we help our customers achieve their most challenging goals." Both of these statements kind of highlight how Lockheed Martin puts the customer first when making business decisions. Lockheed Martin has 60 operating subsidiaries with 939 facilities in 457 cities. Although they only have facilities in the United States, they do business in 56 nations. Lockheed Martin employs over 112,000 employees. I used their mock-up plan for a European building as an example of how they organize their company. As we will talk about later in this document, they have four major areas of focus: aeronautics, missiles and fire control, mission systems and training, and space systems. These are then broken down into their subsidiaries. They also have functional support, which support all of these four or five major categories. The functional support includes ethics, an IT team, supply chain, legal, and finance, just to name a few. Lockheed Martin is run by the chairman and president, Marilyn Hewson. She then is followed by the Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, Bruce Tanner. They make all of the general decisions for Lockheed Martin that aren't specific to certain areas of discipline. The management plan is then distributed into six major areas: the space systems area, information systems and global solutions, mission systems and training, aeronautics, international, which deals with foreign policy and foreign nations, and missiles and fire control. Now, these six people head their respective departments, but aren't specific to a certain city. Lockheed Martin offers four major products and services, or four categories. The first category is electronic system, followed by aeronautics, then space systems, and then information systems and global solutions. Each of these areas have a bunch of subcategories and a bunch of products within them, but those are the major categories that Lockheed focuses on. I'm going to go into each of these sections with a little bit more detail and also do a little bit of economic analysis on each of these subsections. The first and probably the biggest one that Lockheed is known for is their aeronautics section. This section includes the F-22 Raptor, the F-16 Fighting Falcon, and the F-35 Lightning II joint fighter aircraft. The joint fighter aircraft has an approved budget of $283 billion through 2018. Just a little breakdown in the pie chart. 72% is combat aircrafts, which those three are. 15% is air mobility, which goes into radar sensors and things like that. And then 13% is other aeronautical programs. They ran a profit margin of 10.7%. The newest area of expertise that Lockheed Martin has focused on is space systems. This area is mostly dominated by satellites, but they're also acquiring other groups such as Eagle Group International and Universal Systems to expand their portfolio. Their year-end operating margins for last year were 13.1%. The second area of expertise that Lockheed Martin deals with is electronic systems. This includes missile defense, tactical missiles, weapon fire control systems, and surface ship and submarine control systems. The two big areas are maritime system and sensors, which represents 39%, and missiles and fire control, which also represents 39%. The missiles and fire control gave Lockheed Martin the best operating margins at 18.4% in the 2014 calendar year. I also wanted to follow up with an economic analysis of integrated systems and GS. These provide a federal service, IT solutions, and advanced technology. These products aren't tangible, so Lockheed Martin is just getting into this sector. Most of it is for defense, followed by civil and then intelligence. IS and GS had the worst profit margins for Lockheed Martin in the 2014 calendar year with 9.1%. And now I want to kind of move on to a little bit of general economic overview and market analysis of Lockheed Martin. As I stated before, the US government provides most of the revenue that Lockheed Martin gets with over 85%. I also wanted to point out about how balanced Lockheed Martin's portfolio is with aeronautics at 20%, electronic systems at 20%, IS and GS at 20%, and space systems at 19%. In this market analysis, I kind of chose just the military and defense spending because it was too hard to analyze all of their businesses at one point. So, making weapons is a $235 billion a year business. 47 of the top 100 grossing US firms make weapons. Lockheed Martin accounts for almost $35 billion in arms sales. And of this $35 billion, about $3 billion is profit. And as you see in the graph on the right, their market share has exceeded the S&P 500 index and the S&P Aerospace and Defense Index over the last 5 years. Some of the main competitors for Lockheed Martin in the defense contracting area are Boeing with a $31.4 billion arms sales, Northrop Grumman with $28 billion in arms sales, General Dynamics with $24 billion in arms sales, and Raytheon with $23 billion in arms sales. I found some financial data on the Lockheed Martin website. They did $36 billion in product sales, which amounts to about 80% of their total sales, and $9.5 billion in service sales, which amounts to 20%. As you can see, the variation in sales doesn't really change over the past 3 years, and this is basically due to the government's budget not drastically changing. Here's the cash flow projection I did for Lockheed Martin's finances. Lockheed Martin had a backlog of about $80 billion, and $20 billion of that is expected to be used in the 2015 fiscal year. As you can see, they started off with cash of about $2.6 billion and ended with about $1.4 billion in 2014. Most of this money went to infrastructures, facilities, and other product acquisitions to boost their portfolio. I wanted to add a slide of future debt that kind of goes along with cash flow analysis. As you can see, there's a total debt of $49.8 billion over the next 5 years. Within less than 1 year, there's $16.2 billion. Most of this debt comes from infrastructure and facilities built for the F-35 Raptor and its products. After that, it slowly declines until after 5 years, where it's about $11.5 billion. And I want to move on to a break-even analysis of the F-22 Raptor. The F-22 Raptor facilities and infrastructure cost about $40 billion, and the expenses after that cost about $15 billion, totaling $55 billion. The unit price for the F-22 Raptor is $361 million, and their total sales were about $62 billion, which equaled a profit of $7 billion. If we do the break-even analysis, we can see that the break-even point happens at $42.27 billion, which is about 152 units sold. Lockheed Martin's marketing strategy is very diverse, so I wanted to focus kind of on their general plan. As a government contractor, Lockheed is generally not trying to sell products and services to the general public, so you're not likely to see ads for them in community networks or radio stations. They're more likely to lobby government on Capitol Hill. And one of the things Lockheed is focused on is branding and telling its rising IT sector. Much of this is focused on raising awareness of our capabilities such as cybersecurity and data analytics and providing insight on those topics. Finally, Lockheed is trying to expand their market reach outside of the US. For Lockheed Martin, there are two major measurements of success. One is how well the F-35 program does. It's a $283 billion program, so depending on how much of that the government uses will greatly dictate how well Lockheed Martin does in the future. The second is how well international sales do. Because Lockheed Martin is so focused on the US government, this new revenue path will be a great help. The risk factors for Lockheed Martin is basically the US government. The US government amounts for 85% of Lockheed Martin's revenue, so they're solely reliant on them for revenue streams. Another issue that Lockheed Martin faces is the Arms Export Control Act of 1976, which kind of limits where and who Lockheed Martin can sell to. Lockheed Martin's long-term plan is basically to move away from just selling to the US government. They're trying to move into foreign territories and foreign allies to create new revenue streams. Lockheed Martin is also investing in eco-friendly products such as perforin, which basically filters salt from water.